So in this video, I would like to explain short descriptive adjectives in Russian. Short descriptive adjectives are the second main type of Russian adjectives in the short form that make phrases about something. English doesn't really have this form, but it is equivalent to sentences like, "You are beautiful and he is busy," where the adjectives describe the subject's current state, coming after a noun or a verb. Nouns never follow short adjectives, and their use is limited to simple sentences, saying how something is, was, or will be, and giving new information or conditions about the subject. Because of their limited use, Russian short adjectives only appear in the nominative case, meaning that they only have one pattern to follow. By following one pattern, short adjectives will match in plurality and gender, as in the masculine, feminine, and neuter cases. To make short adjectives in Russian, you simply remove the last letters from the normal version of the adjectives and put the following endings. Masculine adjectives simply use the stem in the short form with no change. Feminine ones add a at the end of the adjective once the stem is removed. Neuter ones add o, and if it's plural, we add y or e, depending on the sound. As a spelling rule, if a masculine adjective stem ends in two consonants, we put the vowels o or ye in between to make a better sound. And that's all you have to know about the grammar of short adjectives. Still, it's significant to know that not all adjectives in Russian can have a short form. Overall, you don't need to worry about knowing which adjectives cannot be short because practically it's the short adjectives in context that matter. One important idea to consider is that even though adjectives can be shortened, you'll find that there are not many useful and even possible applications of a short adjective. As I said previously, short adjectives give new information or a condition about something, which makes their use very limited, not just in practice, but also in speech. More often than not, short adjectives represent the general idea of a known concept that was used in old Russian literature. Sometimes, a masculine short adjective may not be utilized, meaning that there are no possible statements with the word, even though it exists. Sometimes, a feminine short adjective might not be applicable, but a plural one is the rarest, so don't expect a lot of examples in this video. Because short adjectives are not that common, you probably will not use them, but knowing their system is very informational. Here are a few examples. Here we have the adjective novy, meaning new. Novy has a short version in every case, but its phrases are very limited. For instance, as a native Russian speaker, I cannot name a single sentence that can be used with nova or novy, because these are very old Russian words. Instead, it's more useful to utilize nov and novo, like in the sentences "Данный метод не нов" and "Это не ново," meaning the following method is not new and this is not new. These sentences are possible in Russian, but hardly anybody says them. Usually, you will see the normal version of novy in the masculine, but the neuter stays as it is. Here we have the adjective красивый, meaning beautiful. Красивый also has a short version, and its phrases are a bit more useful. Он красив, она красива, звучит красиво. He is beautiful, she is beautiful, and sounds beautiful. Unfortunately, there is no possible application with the plural. These phrases are possible and even logical in Russian, but once again, native Russians do not speak like this. What you're more likely to see is он красивый and она красивая. But in this case, it's the normal version. The neuter, however, is perfectly acceptable. Here we have the adjective живой, which means alive or living. Твой отец жив and твоя мать жива are the only possible and logical sentences that I can think of. Is your father alive? And is your mother alive? Politely asking these questions is the best use of this adjective. The neuter and plural are not possible in this case as far as I know. Generally, you will see the normal version of this adjective in practice. Here we have the adjective жаркий, which means hot, as in the sentence жаркий климат, a hot climate. In this context, жаркий is not used in the literal form, but in the normal nominative masculine, describing the climate. In the short version, it would be used in a neuter phrase, like жарко здесь, it's hot here. Russian doesn't have a notion of starting a sentence with it, so we can leave it. What's complicated about жаркий is that the neuter version is the only one possible, while the masculine, feminine, and plural are not. Additionally, in the masculine, we have to add the vowel o in between to make a better sound because the stem of жаркий ends in two consonants. Here, we have the adjective смешной, meaning funny, in the normal nominative masculine, like in the phrase он смешной, he is funny. In the short form, it can only be used in the neuter, like это смешно, this is funny. The masculine, feminine, and plural are not possible with this adjective. Also, we put the vowel o in the masculine in between to make a better sound because the stem ends in two consonants. Here, we have the adjective важный, meaning important, which is the first where all cases are possible. Этот документ важен. Эта машина важна. Важно учиться. And эти документы важны. This document is important, this car is important, it's important to learn, and these documents are important. Notice how in the following phrases, I'm using a demonstrative pronoun to give a general idea of the known subject. It's not just any document or any car, it's this document and this car, which is why the short adjectives are used. In practice, however, you will see the normal versions, and also, we have to put the vowel ye in the masculine in between to make a better sound because the stem ends in two consonants. Here, we have this adjective, интересный, meaning interesting, and this adjective can also be used in every case. Ты весьма интересен. Эта теория интересна. Это интересно. Эти теории интересны. You're quite interesting. This theory is interesting. This is interesting. And these theories are interesting. In practice, you will see the normal versions. And also, we put the vowel ye in the masculine in between to make a better sound. Finally, we have the adjectives большой and маленький that I showed in the previous video. The reason I've kept them to the end is because they're more complex than any of the previous ones that I showed. Just like I said at the beginning, some normal adjectives do not have a short form, and большой and маленький fall into this category. They do not have short forms. However, it's still possible to make a different version of them using the adjectives великий, meaning great, as in prominent, and малый, which is a formal way of saying small. These adjectives follow the same pattern as every other adjective that I showed in this video. Still, I cannot think of a single use of any of these words, because they're mainly used in Old Russian literature. Overall, this is how short descriptive adjectives work in Russian.